Live from Sunday night. This is After Dark solo, Joe solo episode. I'm going to let you guys come in. I guess this is happening. How? Why? I don't know, but it's happening. Thank you for joining me. This was so impromptu. I'm literally just waiting for Migdalia because we have a meeting. But filter in, people. Filter in. Let everybody know that Joe's going to be on a show by himself. And you know what? I'm just going to be shooting the shit all night long. Not all night long, for as long as I can go, though. Talking about some Power Ranger stuff. Answering your questions. Talking about Morphicon. Past experiences of Morphicon. And about the Power Ranger community. And not only just that. I'm also going to be talking about toxic fan communities. Because I was just at a convention myself. A lot of you guys know what it is. It's called Anime Expo. Me and Elle are trying to schedule a After Dark where it's her and I talking AX. I mean, Jez would probably be good on that show too. I'll tell you something right now. AX was terrible this year. I will say that there were certain things that were cool about it. I give credit to all the distributors that were there, like Funimation was probably one of the best. They obviously have the biggest footprint there. A great anime that they're putting out right now, My Hero Academia, which is doing great. I think Funimation had a great showing. But like last night's party, the Sonic Boombox, it was fun. The first DJ was great. Second DJ kind of fell off, and I know, like, if he would have just listened to the crowd and what they wanted to do and what they wanted to hear, it would have been a different story. That's my opinion on this. I think that Anime Expo needs to improve in a lot of spaces. Number one, the first thing they need to improve on is controlling ticket sales. They are going for just the money at this point. I know they say they're a non-profit, but it's interesting to me because is your non-profit more important than people's healths? Because people's health this year, or the heat this year was crazy. And the amount of people that were there, it was even crazier. So I felt like that was a problem. That's obviously a problem. They have too many people every year. I agree with you, Toku. Too many people every year. And it's overstuffed because they don't regulate how many tickets they sell. That's a huge problem Anime Expo has. Personally, I don't think Anime Expo even has the best anime convention. Where's the rest of the crew? I don't know. But I'm flying solo tonight. The rest of the crew's gone. This is Joe After Dark. Hashtag Joe After Dark. Holla. Right here on Pop Culture Renegades. Back to what I was saying before Blackwing, before I read Blackwing's comment. Anime Expo doesn't cap ticket sales. That's a huge problem. I also feel that, let's talk about the toxicity of the fan community. Anime fans have been known to be some of the worst fans in the world. Is that true, audience? Audience member? Wait, we didn't hear you.
Yes.
There you go. So I think that that's proper and that's a fair assessment. Guys, it's no joke. Anime Expo is overcrowded. And I think that some of these fans make it... Some of these fans that are toxic fans, whether it's from the cosplay side or the anime side, don't make it the best experience. I might not be endearing myself to a lot of these cosplayers or anime fans, but I'm just being real with you guys. Because that's all I know how to do is keep 100 like a fever, because I am Smack Talker Skywalker on my mic saber. We're coming at you live right here at Hashtag After Dark. Who does it better than me? Nobody. So, I'm going to let you into my world. We're going to talk about the things that I love. And what do I love? I love Power Rangers. I love movies as well. I love Marvel. But you know what I don't love? AX. And I'm going to keep talking about this for a little bit longer. AX wants to compete with the likes of E3 and Comic-Con. San Diego has it down pat. E3 has the money behind it. AX, you have neither one of those things. You need to fix things. Fix it. I think that with AX, what they do have going for them is that they have a young fan base. That fan base is going to grow, and it's going to grow to be your older fan base. However, you do not have everything you need to have a great convention. The city does not embrace AX the way San Diego embraces San Diego Comic-Con, or the way the E3 is embraced by the city of Los Angeles. AX doesn't have that, and it won't have that, mainly because it's all spread out. People don't know what's going on. The fans didn't even know what was going on. It wasn't a fun convention. It was only fun for one thing. If you lived in Alaska and you got the cold every freaking day, AX was good because you got heat there, but you had too much of it, and especially this year, man. It was way too hot. Way too hot. I can't blame AX for that. I guess I can blame global warming for that. And yes, that is a real thing. We're going to move on. We're going to move on. It ain't a we thing. This is a me thing. I'm going to move on today, and I'm going to talk about Power Rangers. Also, I'll be answering your questions live in the chat. Show some support and share this video out while I wait for Migdalia to have this meeting. But show some support, because let's be honest, the best... Anybody that's ever seen After Darks with me doing solo, they've liked them the most. No offense to my fellow castmates, but it's true. So I will cut loose on this episode. Let's talk about the things that you want to talk about. Also, you know, one of these biggest controversies going on right now for Power Morphicon is this Grandmaster Ranger stuff. And I'm going to address it because we talked about it a little bit on the wrap-up. We've talked about it on After Darks previously. But this is a controversy that's not just going on with Grandmaster Ranger, but more so the community, maybe the world in general. I find it a little sad that we now, as a people, whatever happened to the old, you're innocent until proven guilty. I don't feel like that exists anymore. I feel that now we live in the world where if you automatically can get convicted of something, that you are automatically guilty, and I think that's unfair. Not saying that I don't want to chime in on what I think and didn't think would happen with Grandmaster Ranger, but I do think it's unfair that he's not necessarily getting a fair shake from the fan base. However, I don't know his personal life. I don't know his personal life with his ex-girlfriend or girlfriend, whoever it may be. All I know is that it came out publicly, but once it becomes out publicly, I feel like you have the right to say what you need to say in order to make things right. He has yet to do that. He is taking a higher road, but we don't know his story, and I think that's a huge missing piece to this. Somebody telling their story about something they got accused of, I think has to be something that we kind of all do, at least have an open mind and listen. There's a great documentary on ESPN. It was a 30 for 30, and it was about I think it was like the Princeton polo team or something. I don't remember what it was called. Or it might have been Duke. It was one of those schools. But it was a school's polo team that got accused of abusing and raping a woman, and they all got persecuted for this. And it ended up coming out that the story was completely fabricated, that the girl made all of this up to indict those players. And the way that those guys were treated on campus were not cool. So I feel like this is one of those things. And I understand, too, that there's those voices out there that say things and they don't necessarily get heard because they don't get believed. But it's only that they don't get believed for the people that make up stories or elaborate stories that make it wrong to tell other people's stories. That's my piece on that. I'm going to move on to Power Morphicon itself. One of the best conventions that you can go to ever. I really hope there's a Power Morphicon 2020. We don't know if that's going to happen or not. We don't know if that's on the table, but we do know that Hasbro now has the franchise, and Hasbro has their own convention. Now, I got this knowledge firsthand. We don't know if Power Morphicon is going to happen in 2020. For all of you guys that aren't attending Power Morphicon 2018, and are just saying, oh, you know what, we'll be there at 2020, that's not a fact. Mainly because Hasbro's going to change the game. Right now, we're going to wait and see if Hasbro likes the way that Morphicon is ran, and then they're going to move forward. And then we'll see what happens from there. But what I can recommend is going to show your support. Obviously, if you're going to Power Morphicon, then you're already in. But if you're not going to Power Morphicon and you're a Ranger fan, you're going to be missing out on a lot. Most of the Rangers, I don't want to say all, but a lot of the Rangers are going to be there. Most of the Rangers that you're not normally used to seeing will be there as well. But it should be a lot of fun. Anybody that's attended Power Morphicons in the past knows how much fun it is, and you know how much we turn it up. We turn it up. This year we got Power Morphicon Prom, but I'm not going to talk about that because you heard enough about that on our other shows. But what I am going to talk about is the Power Morphicon experience. Now, we like the fact that Power Morphicon just feels different. But not only does it feel different than every other convention, it is different than every other convention. This is a celebration of a fandom that I feel is truly underrated. It's also a celebration. It's crazy. When you ask me about Power Morphicon, it brings back this memory of just hanging out and geeking out about a fandom that I love. And with Power Ranger fans, as we all know, you can't necessarily do that every day with people. You have to find that right community, and this is the right community to do it. Because everywhere you look, there's a new fan going. And there's a new fan to talk to. And there's somebody that has insight. There's somebody that you want to talk to. There's somebody that you want to meet. And I think that stuff is really cool. I think that the Power Ranger fandom in general is great. There's always a few bad seeds, and that's just going to happen. However, My whole thing is this now. Rise above. We got to rise above all of the bullshit. We got to take back the community to where it needs to be. And we got to keep it. We got to keep it to the fact that makes it still relevant. Now, here's the thing. Power Rangers in general, being at Saban, I think was, it needed a change. It definitely needed a change. Would you agree, audience member?
Yes.
Yeah, he didn't say that loud enough.
Yes.
Hey, I'll tell the story about how you flicked off your mom in just a second. So, I personally feel that the Power Ranger community needed something better. And I'm hoping Beast Morphers is that something better. I'm hoping that when Hasbro, the dream is when Hasbro takes over this franchise, they really take it over. I mean from top to bottom. Not just with good stories, but sinking money into it. What does that mean? What does more money mean? Well, more money means higher production value, better actors, better toys, which a lot of you collectors want. It means giving you the stories that you want. It means higher form of storytelling. Right now, Boom Studios is killing it. But let's be real about Boom Studios, though. I love Kyle Higgins, but it's still a Mighty Morphin story. I know we got a tease that all these other seasons were going to be in it. There were more cameos, and we talked about this yesterday on the Ranger Wrap-Up. Those were more cameos than anything else. Me personally, I think Saban needs to, I think Hasbro needs to, at the very least, step up the game of what Saban was doing. Because if we get more of the same, then what was the point of even selling it? I mean, it seems, and I hate to say this, but it does seem that we might be getting more of the same. And the reason why is because a lot of the folks at Saban are moving over to Hasbro. And that's not a bad thing, because I'm happy people have jobs still. Guys like Jason Bischoff and Melissa Flores, I'm happy that they still have jobs. But things need to change. And if they cannot be blind to see that. Now, I understand at the end of the day, it's all about selling toys. I get it. I understand it. The business side of this means selling toys. But guess what then? Give us better toys. Give us stuff that we want. Now, I know that a lot of people are saying, you know, Mighty Morphin, Mighty Morphin's the best seller. And it historically is the best seller of toys. But that's only because they've had the most of it. Give us something that people actually love. Because I think that right now, I mean, let me ask the people that are in this room, which series would you want to see as a toy? Not fast enough. Which series?
Time Force.
Time Force. Series. What series would you want to see as a toy in Power Rangers?
Hyperforce. That one.
All right, Hyperforce. There you go. So you have different things that you can do, and I think that that's a cool thing about the Power Ranger universe. You have such a vast universe, and there's all about world building, but you're only willing to give us Mighty Morphin all the time. Listen, I love Mighty Morphin just as much as the next guy, but there's better seasons out there. Anybody that doesn't think so, then you're not a Power Ranger fan. And I don't mean that as sound a Power Ranger elitist. That's just a fact. Like, there's a lot of seasons out there that are better than Mighty Morphin. And I understand the originals will always be a thing, and that's the way it is. But that's my piece on Hasbro. I think that Hasbro needs to develop their storytelling. I do think that if they cast... I'm going to grab this for a second. If they cast a younger cast this year, then they're not listening to us. If they cast an older cast this year, then I think that they're somewhat listening to us. So I think that either way it goes, I think there's definitely a possibility that they should be listening to us. This is not working, by the way. Lost Galaxy's another good one, Mikey Perez. Guys, I want to see who's in here right now. Give me a shout out. We have J Boss, Mikey Perez, Blackwing, Jezer, my castmate Jezer, Layla, Toku Kid. So we have a lot of you folks. Daniel Diaz, he's actually here live in person. Say hi, Daniel Diaz.
Hi.
You want to come on camera and say it? Yeah, I was kidding. You sit there. You sit there like a jabroni. If you would have just jumped up and did it, I would have said fine, but you didn't do that. You just sat there. So we have a lot of people that are watching. I thank you guys so much for joining us. Jungle Fury, Ninja Steel, I like it. Ninja Storm. But that's the thing, though, right? As collectors, especially Power Ranger collectors, I think Power Ranger collecting is one of the coolest things because all these Zords, all this merchandise that you have, but it can't be for nothing. It can't just be putting things out just to sell things. It needs to be for a reason. And I think that Hasbro has the chance to step it up, but will they is the question. Ball's in your court, Hasbro. Let's see what you do with it. Now let's just talk about the show. The production of the show needs to be better. I always talk about comparing Power Rangers to Doctor Who, mainly because Doctor Who started off as a campy 60s show just like Star Trek, kind of. A lot of tropes, a lot of kind of like, it was for kids, right? Doctor Who was meant for kids. Still kind of. But the cool thing about Doctor Who, though, is that with each Doctor, each incarnation, depending on the arc, you kind of grew up with the Doctor, and they took you on a ride. And of course, they've had other Doctors come in that can kind of reboot that and get a younger audience, and that's perfectly fine. But I don't understand why Power Rangers can't follow that formula. And I think they tried with the Mighty Morphin era. I do. I think Mighty Morphin, where they took you all the way up to Zeo, which was really good. Turbo was a backstep. But then you got to Space, and Space was like the crescendo. It was the highlight of the Mighty Morphin era, and I think that's what we needed. And I think that was cool for them to do. But we're not getting that anymore. We kind of get this 2-season, 20-episode story arc. Not even a story arc, because a lot of these are just standalones. We get this 20-episode thing, and it just doesn't necessarily work out the way that most fans want. I mean, Super Mega Force hasn't been good. Samurai hasn't been good. Ninja Steel, a lot of people aren't liking. Dino Charge first season was really good. Second season kind of fell off. So you guys know what I'm talking about. That Neil Saban era just isn't keeping up with what it should be. Now, Matthew Thompson says, and the Doctor keeps building the universe while still referencing old things, which I think, and I agree with you, Matthew, that's exactly what I think Power Rangers should be doing. Jay Boss, man, there's a reason why you're Jay Boss, because RPM does have a great storyline. One of the best storylines, let's just say that right now. That's what I think Power Rangers needs to be. It needs to start telling us more complex stories. Now, just because it's a kid's show doesn't mean it can't tell complex stories. Because something like, I credit like something like The Incredibles. The Incredibles is for kids, but it's complex storytelling that's still really good for adults. Power Rangers can still do that. Doctor Who still does that. I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, you got to keep just...
Someone dies at the beginning of every Doctor Who.
Yeah. Like, Doctor Who does it, and it does it in a great way, and I think there's nothing that's really holding Power Rangers back besides Power Rangers itself. Now that Saban's gone, maybe we can actually get some intelligent Power Ranger storytelling. We started getting it developed a little bit on Hyperforce, but the only unfortunate part about Hyperforce that me and a good buddy of mine, Danny from We the Geeks of East LA, we're talking about is that with Hyperforce, you need to understand, I mean, it's not visual storytelling. And I think that kind of holds it back a little bit, which is, you know, neither here or there. But it's not really my cup of tea when somebody's just watching somebody play a game. I'd rather be playing the game myself or seeing it play out, like in terms of like they could have animated a few things or had panels up of a few things, right? Right? Am I right? That's right. Right. There you go. But that could have been done. That could have been done. Now I'm going to go back to some of your comments. By the way, you guys feel free to ask me any questions you want about anything you want to talk about. Jay Boss misses the crossovers. Guess what? So do I. Crossover episodes were great because that was the legit passing of the torch. Not literally, but definitely figuratively of the passing of the torch to the new season. And I always thought that that was such a cool way to honor the tradition that came before you. Something that they do in Japan at the end of every season in Japan is that the Red Ranger will do a little, like, not skip, but like a handoff, literally like a handshake or something, to the new incoming Red Ranger in suit. Something that we need to do more of. And I think that that's something that really needs to be addressed and something that really could be cool. Also, the fart jokes. I agree, J-Boss. The fart jokes are terrible. Come on, guys. Hey, sometimes I want to pull Chip Lynn and his writing team aside and say, guys, you're better than this. You're better than this. Because they are better than this. They can do more things. Daniel Diaz, why don't they just hire the writer from Boom Studios Comics? They do great in the comics. So there's a reason why. So Kyle Higgins doesn't want to be just tied to Power Rangers. He wants to do other things. I don't know if you guys know this. Kyle Higgins is actually writing other books. Here's the thing, though. Are you guys buying those other books? No, because it doesn't say Power Rangers. That's exactly what Kyle Higgins doesn't want. He doesn't want to be typecast into just doing this one thing, and I understand that. Perfectly fine. Layla says, Joe, how do you feel about Chip Lynn still being the writer of the show? I hope he's good. I have faith that Chip Lynn can do a good season. Will he? That's another question altogether. I think that the biggest thing that Hasbro needs is a facelift for the Power Ranger franchise. Do something a lot different to set the tone of what Power Rangers can be. I think that when you give us more of the same, if this is another feel of Ninja Steel or Dino Charge or Mega Force, Super Mega Force, Samurai, if it feels like that, then I'm not in because you're just giving me more of the same. And that's exactly what I wanted to change in the beginning. Look, I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy expressing my feelings about Power Rangers. I'm just a guy that wants you guys to have better things for Power Rangers. If you remember correctly, we all wanted change together. We all wanted to change Power Rangers to make it better. And we thought that the Hasbro deal was going to do that, and it still can. And it still might. But we need to see it first, and it needs to be something different. I feel like they've made a lot of good steps in the right directions. Number one, by doing Beast Morphers, by doing Go Buster, I think that's a really bold step. Mainly because it's a season that was skipped up like 4 years ago or something. When that season was skipped, they thought we would never go back. This is the first time we're ever doing that. To me, that's a bold, bold move. So that means that Chip Lynn either had this idea in his head and he's finally wanted to do it. We could get an RPM scenario here where Chip Lynn knows this is going to be his last season and can go balls to the wall. We could definitely get that because it seems that Go Buster always 6 years. I was wrong, 6 years. So Go Buster was always something he wanted to do. So thank you, Blackwing. I saw the first two comments. Ratwing. So 6 years is a long time. But I think that now that we have, maybe this is Chip Lynn's like swan song, you know? Maybe this is his magnum opus where he wants to go out and do his own thing. It's definitely a possibility. So I do think it's a step in the right direction. Second thing I think about this is that you take it out of high school, you take it out of, you make it more of like the SPD RPM kind of feel, then I'm on board. But you got to stick to it. And if I have another fucking long lost father, I'm out, because we've had this far too many times. I feel like that's going to the same things. I don't want to see that again. This needs to be a good story. And also, I know that the focus has to be on the Red Ranger for whatever reason, but why? The one cool thing which RPM started with is that the focus wasn't on the Red Ranger, actually. It was on the Black Ranger, Dylan, who definitely was one of the fan favorites in the show. It was Dylan and Ziggy, the Black and Green Ranger, which I thought was cool and it was different. And that's the reason it hooked me into the show. Scott was a great Red Ranger, by the way, played by Eka Darville. He was great. However, with the way that they did that series, it just worked so well with the Black, starting with the Black and Green Ranger, really telling it from that perspective. Daniel Diaz, great point, Daniel Diaz. The Yellow Ranger was... Daniel Diaz is here. The Yellow Ranger. Yell it out. Why was Yellow Ranger cool in Wild Force?
She didn't believe they
louder.
Need a Red Ranger.
That's right.
They were doing fine on their own.
They were doing fine on their own. She didn't think they needed a Red Ranger. And that's a great point, is that when you start off a season doing it hyper-focused on the other colors, guess what, guys? It makes people want to buy the other color toys, not just red. And it sells more for you guys. That's a big mistake. I mean, realistically, coming out of the 2017 movie that happened, I thought Billy was the standout character. He was the best character in that movie. That's what we need. We need more. We need different Rangers to focus in on besides the Red Ranger and the Sixth Ranger, or in this case, the Fourth Ranger, or whatever it may be. But I really just should say the Extra Ranger. But I think that with this like what we should be focusing on, I mean, look, if this is going to be a militarized style show, have the Red Ranger be the straight man. Maybe focus the story on the Yellow Ranger, or how about the Blue Ranger? You know what I mean? Give us something different. Give us something that feels different. Visually, we know it's Power Rangers. You already got us there. But do something different with the story. That's my one word of advice for you guys at Hasbro. I hope you're listening. And if you are listening, then know at Hasbro, I hold nothing back when it comes to my feelings on this stuff. And I'm not going to for the sake of anybody else. Because I do these kind of shows because I have my own opinions about Power Rangers and the fandom. But at the same time, I want what's best for everybody. And what's best for everybody is doing stuff that's different, doing stuff out of the box. I mean, and Q Ranger was one of the more successful Sentai shows. But the reason why is because they started with 9 Rangers to begin with. And I know that's a lot. And I know that's a lot to chew on and bite. But it was just different because of that. Do stuff that's different. I'm all for that creative process of doing things that are different. I think that's when you kind of get the best storytelling. I also think, again, and you guys have mentioned this in the past, you got to do crossovers. You got to do them. We got to do a Beast Morpher Ninja Steel crossover. Regardless of what people feel about Ninja Steel, the passing of the torch is important. It's an important part of Power Rangers. I think, let's see, Layla says, Joe, couldn't Hasbro leave Nickelodeon since it was Saban who signed the contract? No. So when they signed the contract, they absorbed all of the business deals that they made. So that means that would continue out. So it's obviously staying at Nickelodeon, and it's already stuff that's probably already paid for, so they don't have to spend the money on that. So, you know, we'll see where that goes. Crossovers are necessary, Blackwing. I agree with you. Something that we haven't gotten, a real proper crossover, and I'm not talking Legendary Battle. I'm talking a real proper crossover. Real proper crossover. We haven't really gotten that since when? I mean, I guess we got the two Red Ranger ones, or the Red Ranger one and Samurai and RPM. But man, the last actual crossover was Once a Ranger. All the way in Operation Overdrive. You think about that, guys. It's been way too long. Way too long. And that wasn't even necessarily a crossover as much as it was like bringing back All-Stars. I actually do think that SPD might have been the last one. Or maybe Mystic Force? No, it was SPD. SPD might have been the last proper crossover with... that's crazy. It's crazy to even think about. All right. So what else we got going? What else is on my mind? You guys want to know about Morphicon? I can answer some of your questions about Power Morphicon. But I do like talking about Power Rangers and these rants about Power Rangers because I do think that Saban was getting away with a lot. Now they're going to get called out. Now they're going to, you know, we called them out. We said, you know, we didn't like what you were giving us. And now we're hoping for better product. What is that better product? Well, we hope it's the Hasbro product. Hasbro's not let us down with action figures. But let's hope they don't let us down with this show either. Because there's a lot of people that have a lot riding on this. Now, I want to ask your question in the chat. How do you guys feel about Hasbro taking a lot of the Saban people with them? Because that's a big, big deal. A lot of these folks are just moving on over and not necessarily creating new things. So I'm curious about that. But we do have a question about Morphicon. Mikey Perez asks, can the VIP tickets come with PMC passes? No, it cannot. VIP tickets will be sold separately from the Morphicon passes. So those are going to be separate purchases. You can still go into Morphicon Prom, Angel Grove Prom, but with a general admission ticket, and you can enjoy it, but the VIP will not be that experience. J Boss says, I am in the middle. I'm assuming that's referring to being about the Saban people coming over to Hasbro. It could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. We're not sure. Daniel Diaz says, they took like 3 people. Can that make a big difference, good or bad? Yes. I mean, if we're all complaining about Chip Lynn, who's one guy, obviously can make a big difference. Chip Lynn is the guy that's really kind of running that show there. But I do think it makes a huge difference. Because if you look at Saban, they're not a big company to begin with. They weren't huge. But, you know, it's not a ton of people. Toka Kid says, I'm iffy on Chip since his best season he worked with a team instead of now being the guy that gives okay to things. I agree with that. Layla says, to be honest, makes me scared. # pray for beast morphers. Now, let's talk a little bit about Chip Lynn. The reason why I think that Dino Charge was so successful its first season was because he did have a writing team that he did work with and kind of collaborated with. Once it became his show, things changed, obviously. Was that for the good or the bad? I didn't really like it, but maybe some people did. Now he has full control on Ninja Steel, and a lot of you fans don't like it. And that's really polarizing because Ninja Steel has good episodes, but they definitely have not great episodes. I think more not so great episodes to begin with. People think, or Matthew Thompson says, don't think anything will change until it leaves Nickelodeon. I don't know about that. Because I honestly, I mean, if technically, really, nothing's really changed, really. The real thing that changed was the Disney era. The Disney era did drop things on its head and made it feel different. But this feels more of like the Saban era that we had originally. Me personally, I think that the Disney era was the best era of Power Rangers. With the exception of like Overdrive, and even arguably Mystic Force and Jungle Fury, all the other seasons were really good. Whereas in the MMPR Saban days, the early Saban days, MMPR was okay, Zeo was really good, Space was really good, and Lost Galaxy was really good. And Time Force obviously was really good. But during the Neo Saban era, it's really hard to say which one was the best, which one was the worst, because I think that they've all been pretty rough with the exception of Dino Charge. Dino Charge was the first season again was really good. But the second season just was a letdown for me. So, and a lot of those guys are my friends on that cast. Nothing against them. It just was the writing, I feel like. Who are you guys most excited to see at Morphicon or Angel Grove Prom? Or Morphicon, actually. Leave a message right there. But guys, I'm going to be doing this show for a little bit while longer. I agree Blackwing Dino Charge was a breath of fresh air. Dino Charge did have the worst ending. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the ending of Dino Charge. I don't think a lot of people liked it. So it's interesting. Did you see all the new IPs that Power Rangers just took up? Like one of them was the Ghost Rangers. Another one was the Phantom Ranger. So there's a lot of new IPs that Power Rangers just trademarked again. So I'm really curious about that because especially the Ghost Rangers. I wonder what that is in reference to. And I wonder if that is something that's being planned on right now. Toku Kid's excited to meet Mike Jin and Kelson Henderson. He's great. Matthew Thompson says Adi, I'm assuming Adi Shankar, Ron Roger, and the guy who plays Mick, Kelson Henderson. So yeah, we got that. Mikey Perez, my date, LOL, JDF, and the Super SPD cast. Mikey Perez is going to Power Morphicon Prom with my good buddy Maverick. So that'll be a thing. Daniel Diaz, one of our fans in the audience, are you going to Morphicon Prom, or are you going to ask anybody to Morphicon Prom?
I'm going by myself.
Oh, he's going solo. That means he can't. That means he can't win those exclusive prizes that we got, man. Gold Ranger communicators. That's crazy. What else we got? What else do we got about Power Rangers? What else you guys want to talk about? Mikey's date is JDF. I read it as that too. I thought Mikey was saying that he was going to go with JDF. Obviously not the case. Morphicon's so much fun, though. I think you guys are going to have a blast. I'm looking forward to it. Now, it also seems... I'm curious about what they're going to do with this Austin St. John Day. Because we know that the Morphicon originally was scheduled for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But now it looks like he's going to be making an appearance on Thursday, which is a different thing. So that'll be something else that we're going to do. But guys, that's going to do it for me. I'm tapping out. Thank you for joining me on #AfterDark. Go and share this video out because you know Power Rangers and the Solo Joe episodes. Solo Joe shows are the best. Hit me up on Twitter and on Instagram at that #Joe. Take care, guys. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button to stay up to date with everything trending in Greek pop culture. Also, subscribe to Pop Culture Renegades. Later.